Willie Mullins has really aggressively campaigned Galopin Des Champs. He does get beat, doesn't he? And he comes back and he gives you more.
I think a few connections here need to give themselves a little bit of gives their head a wobble here, and I'd be really firing everything at it.
Constitution Hill, what a horse. If I tried to liken him to a footballer,
Here we go.
Gareth Bale.
Right, well, fair enough. I'll go for Lossy Mal for me. I want to see a softer, heavy ground champion hurdle, and I think she'll really serve it up.
Dino, thoughts on Ed Snap at the festival?
Terrible.
His whole season revolves around this race. Gordon Elliott knows that this is his banker for a Grade 1. I have never seen anything quicker.
Hi, I'm Ryan Scott Douglas and we are back for the Cheltenham preview with talkSPORT and talkSPORT Bet. To help me look ahead to this year's festival, I'm joined by a man often found in his natural habitat of the Guinness tent during Cheltenham. It's Dean Saunders, our very own Cheltenham winning jockey, Lizzie Kelly, and talkSPORT Bet's racing expert, Ed Quigley. Not long to go now, Dean, have you done all your studying, have you?
Can't wait, yeah, but I always write my tips on an envelope. So, because I always deliver.
Look at that! Look at that!
But no, I'm this year I'm following nice stories and dreams.
Okay, listen, I love it, and I'm looking forward to it. Ed, are you expecting a lot of upsets this year, or is it going to be favourites?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's the hope or an expectation. Look, we all love a fairy tale or an upset, as we see, but the way it's kind of shaping up, the first couple of days especially, there's a lot of favourites, a lot of shorties, a lot of punters are going to be getting stuck into those, in the Supreme, the Arkle, the Champion Hurdle. You're looking at odds-on shots. See Galopin Des Champs later on in the week. There are your usual plethora of odds-on favourites which punters will be getting stuck into. But you know me, I'm long shot Ted. I'm not here to sit here and talk for 7 minutes about a twos-on poker. I think there could be a few upsets along the way, and that is the magic of Cheltenham.
Yeah.
The races aren't run on paper.
Yeah.
And I think especially in the handicaps, there's some juicy prices to be getting stuck into. So it should be a wonderful week.
Looking forward to getting stuck into it. And Lizzie, look, I guess the headline is Nikki Henderson back, but without the favourite, Sergino.
Yeah, so last year obviously was a complete disaster for the Henderson team. They ended up having to pull out the majority of their runners that week. And this year he's back with a really, really good team. We had some bad news about Sergino. He was a real flag bearer for Nikki Henderson and also the sort of British contingent. He's ended up being out with an injury. He's actually out for the season. He ended up getting an infection in a cut. But he's getting back to full health. And I expect Nico de Boinville will be a very happy man that, the team are firing this season.
Yeah, Ed, there'd have been a lot of broken hearts about Sergino, wouldn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the matchups of the festival, Sergino against Masborough. That was like the two youngsters from last year going toe-to-toe. Look, it's not happening now. It's left the kind of a little bit of the door open for Masborough as the top juvenile from Ireland. But yeah, Nikki Henderson is back. He's kind of flying the flag, isn't he, really, for Team GB, if you want to call it that. But he has got a real stacked yard this year. Just hopefully they all get there in one piece. This seems to be the thing. We've been here with Sprinter Sacra and Altior missing 2 festivals, Constitution Hill missing last year's festival, Sergino's now out. If Seven Barrows can get their outfit there, he's got a serious amount of talent, and fingers crossed they can all run up to form, because I think they'll give a really good account of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this, guys. Let's get into the feature races with talkSPORT Bet. Head to talksportbet.com or download the talkSPORT Bet app for all of your Cheltenham needs. Let's start with the big race of the festival, the Gold Cup. Dino, you were there for last year's race. Will you be looking at a fairy tale hat-trick for Galopin Des Champs?
Yeah, it's another fairy tale, and I backed him last year and the year before. So I can't be disloyal at this point, so I'm going to back him again.
Yeah, Lizzie, you tipped Galopin last year. Will you be doing the same this year? That's the question.
Yeah, definitely. Tipping aside, because you won't make your millions backing him in the Gold Cup. He'll be only the 5th horse to win 3 Gold Cups back-to-back in the 100 years. And it was 20 years ago, the best mate. He won 3 in a row. Galopin de Champs is a really interesting horse because one thing that I think trainers are afraid of doing is getting horses beat.
Right.
They feel like it ruins their reputation. Willie Mullins has really aggressively campaigned Galopin de Champs. He does get beat, doesn't he? And he comes back and he gives you more. The last twice we've seen him over in Ireland, both at Leopardstown at the DRF and their Christmas meeting, he's been really, really impressive. And I think he's 9. You know, he really should actually be kind of at his best, like he should be at his peak.
Okay.
And I think that some horses, like Alboom Photo, who won 2, by the time he was coming around for his 3rd Gold Cup, he was sort of over his peak. Whereas Galopin de Champs, like the last time out, he was absolutely fantastic at Leopardstown. He kind of has it all. I actually thought his jumping was the best it had been last time. He's very versatile in terms of riding him tactically, you know, in terms of what the other jockeys will be doing to try and get Galopin de Champs beat. Paul Townend will be able to be very versatile with how he rides him. You know, he can bowl along in front, he can take a pull on him. This was a horse who used to be very keen, and he's really settled down, and he's a proper racehorse now. And he is basically my favourite horse in Cheltenham.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, so I really like this horse, and it will be fingers crossed on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's priced accordingly, isn't he? But on all known form, something's going to have to go wrong for him not to win. It's hard to make a case for anything beyond him to jump forward. Where they're going to find that £10, £12 improvement to give him something to really think about. It's going to need, if you go back 3 seasons ago, when Galopin de Champs was going to win the now defunct Turner's Chase, 15 lengths clear at the last, jumped it, slipped, went. You know, those kind of things can have to happen. As Lizzie says, you know, unoriginal, but long odds on favourite. It's going to join a very elite company. They actually say joins Arkle and Best Mate as the only would-be the 3rd horse since the war to have won 3 consecutive Gold Cups.
Oh, wow.
And it just looks as though, on all known form, and just on a very quickly, on a wider point, this Gold Cup, I keep hearing, oh, big field, strong gallop. I think this could be a 6 or 7 runner race.
Well, they're all running scared, aren't they?
They are. This is cutting up
unusual.
massively. Well, and I find it quite self-defeating, to be honest with you.
Right.
You know, as I've just said to you, horse can fall at any point.
Yeah.
To be scared of one horse, I think a few connections here need to give themselves a little bit of a, you know, gives their head a wobble here. And I'd be really firing everything at it. You know, worst place, you come second in a Gold Cup. You know, but I hear the phrase, oh, we'll wait for entry. Well, who's to guarantee? It's not like you're guaranteed to win an entry as a 1 to 5 poke. I just think this, you know, Galopin de Champs should win, and it's a scramble for.
You know what I'll do then? Let's stick with you. Yeah. Where is the value then? With all that being said, where's the value in this race?
Well, the value, I think Monty Star he's the one who we still haven't got to the bottom of yet in terms of if he's young. He ran very well in the Brown Advisory last year, staying on up the hill. Henry de Bromhead's made no secret of it. He's training him for 1 day and 1 day only. And you look at Henry de Bromhead as a whole, his yard often don't fire in the bleak midwinter. And then when it comes to the spring, they all come alive all of a sudden. And there is statistically, bit of an upturn in his stable string over the last month or so. He's starting to have more winners. They're starting to come into form. Monty Start, young horse. Yes, he's got to improve. But as I said, if you take Galopin de Champs out of it, there's a chance Factor Far might not run. If the ground's soft, Banbridge might not run. Corbett's Cross just got stuffed at Ascot, and you're then into Long Press, who was pulled up, and Grey Dawning, who allegedly might not be running.
Gosh.
See what I'm saying? There isn't a lot going on here.
No.
So I think Galopin de Champs, look, barring some act of God, should jump round and win this quite convincingly. And he is a class act, and the roof will come off the stand. You know, forget bets. Just as a spectacle, it would be brilliant to see that horse win 3 Gold Cups. But of those in behind, I think the untapped horse is Monty Star, and I think he'll peak for the day, and he'll probably follow home Galopin de Champs.
Ed, something I want to ask you. There's a lot of horses running really close to the start of the festival.
Yeah.
Is it because of fitness reasons, or are they having to qualify?
Well, the qualification question would be for handicaps, which we'll come on to a little bit later. Yeah, there have been new rules to cut a very long story very short. There have been new rules brought in by the governing bodies to ensure in order to qualify for certain races, you have to have run so many times or run in certain qualification enabling races to book your ticket to the festival, if you like. But in terms of a race like the Gold Cup or not, no, everyone's pretty much done their running now. And a lot of the Grade 1 horses, if you like, they will have had their final outing Now it will just be
But
a
that's
case of get ready
because
for the day.
the programme for that elite level of horse is very set.
Yeah.
So if you're a 3-mile Grade 1 racehorse, you kind of follow the same programme every year, and those races don't really change. It's a very traditional calendar in racing. So your races that would be available for you to run in if you are a Galopin de Champs are actually pretty few. So they sort of set themselves, really.
Yeah, OK, well, here's a bit where I watch this show back and I start making my notes, because I want to know who your winner is and who your value pick is. So we're going to start with you, Lizzie.
Well, I think you can guess who my winner is.
Yes.
Galopin de Champs. My value bet is actually Grange Clare West.
OK.
He was second behind Galopin de Champs at Leopardstown last time out. He was 66-1 that day. He was ridden really cold, and he was ridden for the best possible result, which is a slightly different ride to riding to win. If you're riding a 66-1 shot, you're not going to be riding to beat Galopin de Champs, are you? So his jockey, Brian Harding, Brian Hayes, thank you.
Third time lucky we got there.
Third time lucky. He was really cold on him, and the horse jumped the last in about third or fourth, stayed really well. It will be obviously 2 furlongs longer than that at Cheltenham, and I think he's got a good each-way chance.
OK, I like that. I like your line of thinking there. Ed, same question to you. Winner, value?
Galopin de Champs, on all known form, should win the race.
OK.
I think as it stands, Monty Star is each-way value. I would plead with the Skelton team to reconsider. Grey Dawning allegedly is going to skip this. They're going to, they're talking about next year's Gold Cup. Horse could, it's a long time away.
Oh, you were talking about this actually off air as well, about
I just think if you actually boil it down, forget the bluster and look at who's going to line up. You're looking at 6 or 7 runners. Grey Dawning on ratings, on a betting, would probably be single-figure price to win a Gold
But
Cup.
how would you feel about Grey Dawning's running King George, though?
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. But point being, he's a Cheltenham Festival winner. He's got form at Cheltenham. If something went amiss for Galopin de Champs, it's probably the most open Gold Cup if you take him out of it. To go Calso and an entry, to me, it just feels a little bit, feels a little bit self-defeating, given he's got form. He won on last year's Cheltenham Festival. His best days come at the meeting. But look, I haven't trained Ivory up a wall, let alone a Cheltenham winner. But I just think if Grey Dawning finished third in a Gold Cup, would that be seen as a disaster? Probably not. But I think the Yard are taking the view, if we can win it Calso, win it Aintree, that trumps it, which I totally respect. But I'd just like to see him in it, because he's a younger horse with not much mileage on the clock. But load of word salad there. If he did line up, I would have him as an each-way player. But Galopin de Champs to beat Monty Star would be my way forward.
OK. Right, Lizzie, onto the Champion Hurdle. It's been won by the odds-on favourite the last 3 years, which bodes well for Nikki Henderson's Constitution Hill, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Constitution Hill is extremely talented. He is head and shoulders above everything that he's come across and run against so far in his career. He's actually got a racecourse gallop this week, which I think is actually a little bit worrying.
OK.
He's got past history of having bad racecourse gallops.
Oh, no.
So I'm not really sure.
What's that? Why is that happening?
I don't really know. He just doesn't seem to work very well.
Right.
And it's happened a couple of times, and it's just been a bit of a disaster, like a
The
public
nerves aren't going
disaster.
away about this horse, are they?
No, I think that's the thing, is he just seems quite inconsistent, even though when he gets on a racecourse, he's incredibly talented. So we've got, if everything goes to plan, he should really be a banker for the week.
Right.
And he's proved this season, he's come back and won races very well. So, he still retains his ability.
Okay.
Ed, Constitution Hill, what a horse.
Oh,
I mean, if I try to liken him to a footballer,
Here we go.
it would be Gareth Bale.
Right, well, fair enough.
Ridiculous cruising speed.
Not
Gareth
Messi.
Bale.
You're not Messi. Gareth Bale.
Well, there's freak footballers like Ronaldo, Messi. Gareth Bale's a freak, in my opinion. They're just different to the rest of us. Yeah. You got horses like that as well. Gareth Bale didn't train very well. He wouldn't. If you watched him training, you'd think he's not trying, or he can't smell the hot dogs. When he gets to the ground. But Constitution Hill is such. a good horse, and its cruising speed is just better than everybody else's. But is it unbackable?
Well, I suppose that's kind of arbitrary, isn't it? Again, another very short price horse. Is he unbackable? Just as he says, we can all be in danger of looking into things that aren't there. The facts are this horse has not lost a race, and he's come back after a year off, and he's won both his races again. But this just doesn't go away. There's something just not quite selling you at the moment. There's an uneasiness. There's never quite the bullishness there of 2-3 years ago. And as you know, with horses, 24 hours is a long time. A year is a long time. He'd been off the track for a while. He won well without being brilliant in beating Lossiemouth at Kempton 2.5 lengths, but he won well. And then he had an exhibition round, didn't he, against inferior horses at Cheltenham last time out. In terms of how good is he? Well, in terms of peak ratings, he's the best kind of 2-mile hurdler we've seen this century. His overall body of CV at the moment is probably just below Istabrack. But in terms of his peak performance, I mean, to beat John Mon, 22 lengths of the Supreme is unheard of. Wiped the floor with State Man 2 years ago. It's just how much of that Premier League footballer from 3 years ago is still there after a year on the sidelines would be the kind of analogy I'd use. From what we've seen, there's enough of it.
Yeah.
It's just if the buttons are really pushed, how much is still under the bonnet? That's what we don't know. And it's up to you then at such a short price. That's your kind of judgment call. Not for me. To me, the races in general is more just a great spectacle to sit and enjoy. But I personally wouldn't be backing Constitution Hill at his price, given his previous worries.
Yeah, no, fair. Well said as well. And you mentioned Lossiemouth there, which is a perfect time to ask Lizzie. Lossiemouth, brighter days ahead. Do you expect either of them to run in this race?
Oh, I never. It's never guaranteed until they have to declare the horse at a 48-hour stage. But I think Lossiemouth will definitely run. Brighter days ahead Lossiemouth won the Mares' Hurdle last year, so there's not really much point going back to defend her crown when she could go for the champion hurdle route this year. Brighter days ahead. She sort of burst on the scene when she won a 2-mile Grade 1 by 30 lengths at Christmas. And really put herself in the champion hurdle picture. She could be really interesting. Obviously, we've seen Constitution Hill. He's already beaten Lossiemouth, but we've not seen Brighter Days Ahead versus Constitution Hill. And I'd like for her to go. Obviously, mares get an allowance in those sorts of races, so that's always a help. But I couldn't count how many times I've made that argument and it hasn't worked. So, look, it would be great if they both did, but I wouldn't be guaranteeing anything at this stage.
Lossiemouth's not been great recently. Do you think it can stay with Constitution Hill?
I think the run against State Man at Leopardstown, she obviously fell too far out to see how she would have fared. We don't know. And the run before that, a lot was made about the opening speed sections of the race. So she jumped off at Kempton and the front runner went so fast that it really caught her unawares and she found it quite difficult to hold her position in the race. That being said, she finished really strongly. She's won over further, so she's got stamina. And I personally would say that now she's had that experience of almost what you would call gate speed in flat racing, like being able to jump off and be quick over the first few hurdles. Some horses take a little while to warm up. Once they've had that experience, like next time I'd say she'd be bang on it. Like Willie Mullins doesn't leave any stone unturned. Like that will be something that they're like, right, let's get her going real quick.
Yeah.
But so I think we'll see an improved performance at Cheltenham from her.
Okay. Do you know what you mentioned State Man at the top of that? Is there a danger that people are overlooking State Man, Ed?
Not in my view. No. Very good horse. Obviously won a county hurdle. Got stuffed by Constitution Hill 2 years ago. Constitution Hill wasn't there last year, and State Man turned up and got the job done. I'm not sure he's quite the horse he is on what we've seen so far. You know, he was beaten by Brighter Days Ahead, where admittedly the mare had a fitness edge first time out. Then got absolutely thumped to distance over the Christmas period. Now, that run was too bad to be true, given the proximity of much lower rated horses to State Man in that race. Something was amiss. And then, as Lizzie alludes to, last time out against Lossiemouth, it's one of those we'll never know. 2 out, Lossiemouth, to use the word of Danny Mullins, who's riding Lossiemouth that day, travelling with real zest, and she capsizes uncharacteristically and goes. And I just think Stateman's going to have more on his plate this year as a year older horse, arriving in not as good a form, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, I think this could be 5-6 runner race. I just hope both mares run for this, go for this. Constitution Hill, Brighter Days Ahead, Lossiemouth, Stateman, possibly Burdett Road or someone else. It's going to be a 4 or 5 runner race, but it's absolute cream of the crop. You've got your Gareth Bales in there, your hot dogs, you've got your envelope of knowledge, you've got the lot, you've got everything you want. Stateman, not for me. Very good horse. I think he's had his day, and I think he's got an even tougher race this time around than he had in previous ones.
Oh, I tell you what, all those names you just said there, tasty on this, tasty, interesting, and that's perfect to ask Lizzie. Come on then, that time of the show again. Winner, value pick.
Constitution Hill, winner, but actually I would side with Stateman as my value bet.
Ooh, with that being said, Ed, how about that?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, no, I think he is overlooked. I think Willie Mullins will have him spot on for the day.
Paul Townend sounds like he's going to side with him. He's loyal to the previous champion. So you've got that on his side as well.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. Ed, go on then, let's throw to you about this.
Right, I'm going to put my asterisks out here now, because I do think this is quite a ground-dependent race. I think if the ground gets really deep and stamina comes to the fore, I do think Lossiemouth's not out of this. If she could get within 2.5 lengths on good ground of Constitution Hill around Kempton, she's got confirmed stamina over 2.5. If we've got a softer heavy ground festival, which we have in 3 of the last 5 years, that will really bring a stamina into play, and I don't think she'll be far away. So I'm kind of hedging my bets on a bit of a rain dance here, but I'm going with Lossiemouth as the value play. I think she definitely will line up, and I don't think she'll be far away. My absolute flying ointment, the joker in the pack, would be Golden Ace, Jeremy Scott's mare, if she ran.
Okay.
I gather she's had, at the time of recording, a little a muscle setback, and the festival is in doubt. If she were to run, people are forgetting, we have very short memories in racing. She beat Brighter Days Ahead pretty convincingly last year at Cheltenham Festival. And all I hear afterwards was how Brighter Days Ahead didn't do this. The tactics are wrong, the sectionals, the rain, the hay, the straw. Hang on a minute, watch the race back. Golden Ace went round on the bridle, Lorcan Williams pushed the button up the hill, and he flew home. She flew home.
Yeah.
Lorcan Williams, he flew home. Brighter Days Ahead is whatever she is, 7-2 to win. If she lined up, Golden Ace is a gazillion. But there's every chance she doesn't line up. But if she did, she would be the joker in the pack with a mare's allowance. But I'm going for Lossiemouth for me, and I want to get absolutely soaked. I want to see floods. I want to see a softer, heavy ground champion hurdle, and I think she'll really serve it up to Constitution Hill.
Okay, there we go. Me got a little joker in the pack there as well. Brilliant. I love it, guys. Before we move on, Dino, you've been a Cheltenham regular for over a decade now. Dare I say, and I'm going to throw over to you very cautiously here, you must have some absolutely amazing stories and memories at this festival.
Yeah, lots. Most of them involve Alan Brazil.
I'm sure they do.
But
I'm sure
I've
they
had
do.
some great... I just love going anyway. I've seen all the best horses in the world running, but the best day I ever had, a mate of mine called Phil Williams owned Son of Flicker.
Okay.
Donald McCain trained it. And it won at 66 to 1. And he backed it, Phil backed it from 66 to 1 down to 12 to 1.
Oh, wow.
And I was on it, and I'm still living off the money, to be honest. But it was a great day. We went back, he ordered himself a suite.
Yeah. Wow.
He had 250 grand in the boot of his car.
What?
Yeah, so he's won that much money. I think he won £1 million. So he was buying drinks for everyone, and he got a suite. And the following year, 2 years later, it ran again in the same race.
Okay.
33 to 1. And we all backed it again, and it got beat. But 3 horses went past it on the line, so we never even got an each way. And I remember I slept in my car that night, so slightly different. But
the highs and the lows, eh?
But that is, I don't think I'll ever beat that day ever again. It was just unbelievable.
Oh my gosh, that is exceptional. Exceptional. Right then, Ed, on to day 2, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. And John Bond leads the way in the early betting for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Rightfully so. Again, on form this season, pretty much a majority of the last 2 seasons, the rightful favourite, strong favourite. If he'd made the gig last year, would have had a mighty chance of winning. He's got that kind of hoodoo on his CV at the moment, has he? In fact, he's done everything but win at the Cheltenham Festival, and in a kind of an era where you kind of are judged by your CV of what you achieve at Cheltenham Festival. That's the one thing he hasn't achieved yet. I don't buy the argument he doesn't act at Cheltenham because he's been beaten there 3 times. Got beaten by Constitution Hill. He got beaten by Al Fabiolo in an Arkle, which a peak Al Fabiolo is a very good horse. And the other time, he made a really uncharacteristic jumping error when he ended up getting beaten by Elixir de Nuts in a rearranged Clarence House chase. But I can't use the argument he doesn't take to the track. I mean, he's bolted up there before in Schlur chases in almost track record time. So it just is that one thing. He hasn't gone and done it at the festival yet. This is now or never for him. You know, he's 9 years of age. He's your odds-on, or shade of odds-on favourite. His form this year is in a different parish to everything else. You know, he blew an Ergamine out the water last time out at Ascot. And yeah, I mean, what's going to challenge him is the lineup, really. The lineup, in a wider point, is there are still a few horses here who are kind of going to play their cards late. There's a bit of ducking and diving going on in terms of who perhaps switched to the Ryanair chase, who will stay at 2 miles. But on all-known form, the best horse. He's got winning form at Cheltenham, losing form with it. But yeah, I expect John Bond is going to take all the beating.
Do you think that people sort of want to get John Bond beat in many ways, don't they? Like, why do you think that is?
I know it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's almost like it's a I told you so type of attitude. No, I mean, in the early, Nikki Henderson's insight's better than mine. He said in the early days, this horse used to really get fizzy and boil over. I was there at the Kingmaker chase at Warwick 2 years ago, where he made an absolute meal of trying to beat a horse called Calico, who's a good horse, but he's a handicapper. And in the pre-parade, John Bond looked like you after a night out. I mean, he was all over the gaff. I tell you,
You've seen me, have you, in Birmingham?
Yeah, he was sweating up after a Digbeth nightclub. Yeah, he really was. He was jiggy. He got into the parade ring, and he was lava with sweat on his neck. Aidan Coleman, I think, rode him that day, feet out the stirrups, trying to keep a lid on him. Blah 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 blah. And he ran a really weird race. I think he scrambled home in the end. It 1-4. His natural class kind of got him out of it. As he's got older, you listen to the words of Nikki Henderson and Nico de Boinville saying, now, like us all, some of us, Ryan, we grow up as we get older and we become less sweaty. Our temperament kind of chills out a bit. And now he's much more the model professional. And that perhaps you could lay to the fact when there's 70,000 people at Cheltenham and the atmosphere is absolutely raucous, you don't want a horse you can boil over, do you?
Yeah.
You need somebody who's got that ice-cold kind of Tiger Woods on the 18th in a major, just ice-cold temperament. And the evidence we're seeing in all the kind of preliminaries with this horse is now he's much more the finished article.
Yeah.
And if he brings his A game to the table here, on all-known form again, he is head and shoulders above the others. So I'd like to see him go and win, and it would be really good. And Nikki Henderson, she said he's just been waiting for John Bond to get the job done at the Cheltenham Festival, and this would be perfect time to do it.
Ed, AP McCoy,
Yes.
I seen him getting interviewed. I think Nick Luck was interviewing him the other day.
Yeah.
And he said the only horse he'd get out of bed and come out of retirement for is John Bond.
Yeah, well, you can see why. I mean, when he's on song, he's a brilliant jumper. They toyed with the idea. They went up to 2.5 at Aintree last year. They were thinking of going 3. They've now gone stuck to the minimum trick, ride him aggressively, really attack his fences.
Yeah.
And when he's on song, he's a real sight to behold. And I can understand why AP would be saying that. And fingers crossed we get no in-running tomfoolery or some absolute nonsense happen here, because I want to see John Bond in full flight, and personally, it'd just be a great spectacle to see him go and get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. I caught a few stray bullets in your little speech there, but I'll allow it because they were bang on. They were absolutely bang on, accurate. Il est français, Lizzie. I'm so glad I got to say that, by the way. One of my favourite names. Will Il est français run in this?
It'll either be this or the Ryanair. He ran over 3 in the King George last time. And basically got collared after the last. If the race had finished at the last, he'd have won it, and it would have been really impressive. I'd say there are horses who've dropped back from kind of Gold Cup trips. One Man would be the horse who famously did it. He went and won a champion chase, and actually, Il est français has plenty of form over shorter trips in France, which is where he has trained. They actually don't have a lot of longer distance races over in France.
Right.
So he was second in a Grade 1 bumper over a mile 4, for example. This is obviously all quite a long time ago now. He's 7. The fact that he won the novice version of the King George at Kempton would, for me, put him in the Ryanair camp, because Kempton's quite a short track. It works for 2.5 milers. And yeah, for me, he's a really exciting horse. Gaelic Warrior is also in here. Gaelic Warrior was an Arkle winner last year.
Okay.
They have a really good record in the Queen Mother Champion Chase. So, yeah, I think it's certainly an interesting horse. You've got Marine Nationale in there, who was second behind Solness. Solness is a horse who was beaten 25 lengths by John Bonn at Sandown when they met. But he was ridden differently on that occasion, and ridden in a way that I don't think suits him. Since then, he's won at Grade 1 level, having bowled along. So he's been allowed to breeze along in front, take his fences as they come. You know, he's very quick over his fences. And the last time we saw him, actually, Marine Nationale was behind him.
Right.
So I think John Bonn is certainly the one to beat.
Yeah, I've got you.
Lizzie, how about El Fabiolo? Because last year we were there and we all backed the Irish treble.
The groan.
And I remember standing there thinking, this is a cert, can't get beat, and got pulled up.
Yeah, he did. So he's had 2 runs this season. He was second in the not this season, but he was second in the Celebration Chase after that run at Cheltenham, and then he fell last time at Leopardstown way too early for us to have any idea of how he would have got on. I also think that you could potentially say that JJ Slevin was riding him for the first time at Leopardstown when he fell last time, and Paul Townend obviously used to ride him, but JJ Slevin's got the job with the double green for the owners. And you could potentially say, did El Fabiolo do something that a new jockey wasn't expecting, and they've sort of come apart? But I would be concerned. I mean, I really do think that Willie Mullins is good at getting his horses back on song, and if he were to pull it off with El Fabiolo, who obviously beat John Bonn in the Arkle, it would be an amazing feat. But you'd be a bit of a hope and a prayer with that, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Still one of the best names in the business, so El Fabiolo, another one up there with LA Francais. OK, so a lot of horses named there. This is another tasty one, another juicy one. Lizzie, let's start with you. I want to know your winner and your value pick as well.
John Bonn, and then Solness is my value pick.
OK. Ed?
John Bonn, but I'm going to go against Lizzie. I fancy Marine Nationale to turn round the form, coming back to Cheltenham. Previous Supreme Novice Hurdle winner, and those colours would be quite poignant with things that have been going on in the racing world at the moment. So, yeah, John Bonn to beat Marine Nationale would be my 1-2.
Oh, there we go. Love it. OK, you are watching the Cheltenham Preview Show with talkSPORT and talkSPORT Bet. Head to talksportbet.com or download the talkSPORT Bet app for all of your Cheltenham needs. Now, onto the Ryanair Steeple Chase on Thursday. And Dino, this was, of course, won by Sir Alex Ferguson's Protectorat last year. Potential for another fairy tale, eh?
Well, it will be, yeah. I mean, I never backed him last year.
Oh.
Criminal, I know, because...
How'd you get away with that one, then?
Well, I should have done it. I just didn't. I might have been Guinnessed up or something. But I'm gonna do him this year.
Yeah, they call it Brazil, don't they? Dino?
Yeah. Stay away from Alan Brazil.
Yeah.
But no, it's another fairy tale if Fergie could do it again. I'm going on 2 mottos this year: lightly raced and fairy tales.
Yeah.
So this is another one. Protectorat.
Love it.
Yeah, well, he's definitely the fairy tale. The defending champion. And in a race of a lot of unknowns in terms of who might turn up, he is pretty much, he's cast iron to run. And obviously, his part owner, John Hales, as well, passed away recently. This would be a fairy tale. The roof will come off the sand on Thursday if this one can get done. But in like Premier League, if you were going back to August and you were looking at your Premier League top goal scorers and you were going to look at who you think they would be and you were pricing them up, there's, Factophile, LA Francais, Gaelic Warrior, Spillane's Tower, El Fabiolo. There's a chance here some of these footballers could be going off to La Liga and Serie A before the Premier League begins, if you see what I'm saying. This is the most confusing race in terms of knowing who's going to turn up. With Protectorat, he runs. He's the defending champion. So, if you fancy Protectorat, I wouldn't put anyone off. He's been there and done it.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Fat to File. Favourite, of course, but Lizzie, you're not sure if they're going to run.
Yeah, I think, so this is a horse who has been chasing home Galopin de Champ over 3 miles. He's been quite keen, and that's something that they've been struggling for him to then get home over 3 miles. You can see why they would enter him in the Ryanair, because they'll go a little bit quicker. And funnily enough, that is exactly what Protectorat was before last season, and coming back to 2 Mile 4, he was a horse who was running in Gold Cups and was keen in Gold Cups, and it suited him to drop back. But they're not sure. You're not sure if he's going to run. He would be a massive danger to Protectorat if he did. And Ile Francais, and now we've talked about him already. He's a massive danger as well. Protectorat, I think, potentially his form is slightly underrated this year. He's run in a couple of handicaps, which is obviously very difficult for him because he's having to lump round top weight in handicaps. And last time when he won very, very well, it was around Windsor. Windsor hadn't had jump racing for however many years, and today's race viewer might not actually know how good that is. If you have a horse that wins its prep run around Cheltenham, Aintree, Newbury, Ascot, Kempton, you know what you've got. You understand the level. Yeah. He won around Windsor, and everyone's just a bit like, "Ooh, what does that mean, though? Is that good, or is it the equivalent of running around a lesser track?"
Oh, I've got you. It's difficult to read into.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult to analyse. But I mean, look, I was Protectorat's sort of biggest drum banger last year. And to me, I see no reason why I wouldn't back him again. I think it is a hotter race this year.
You tipped him on the show last year, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, tipped him everywhere last year.
Would you worry about good ground if it got it dried up for the week? Yes.
Yeah, you would a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will. I think we should be okay. And he's in really good form at home. So yeah, I'd be happy to stick with him.
Yeah, okay.
Ed, I've noticed you tend to eliminate horses as your way of picking the winner. How many potential winners have we got of this race?
Well, this is the thing. This is total muddy waters, this race. It often is the race where you've got some horses will look at the Gold Cup, trainers will look at the Gold Cup, will look at the Champion Chase, and this is the race that kind of comes out in the washing a little bit. And as we've mentioned, there's 5 or 6 towards the top of the markets here who quite feasibly could not line up. And so, yeah, I'm kind of hedging on the process of elimination. I'm kind of going for looking at others slightly, as each way players who are being aimed at this race, if you see what I'm saying. And so, like Jello, Venetia Williams is a runner. Peak form, perhaps is just a little bit below some of those above, but has the propensity to contract significantly in the market by virtue of is booked for the gig, already has the tickets, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Heartwood, I think, is a bit of a dark horse here. This is one, when you talk about others, you could eliminate. Heartwood's only entry at the Cheltenham Festivals here for the Henry de Bromhead team.
Yeah.
They've tried this horse up at 3 miles, and it, similar to Factor File, just doesn't quite stay. And if you actually go back to that run at Leopardstown over Christmas, was travelling very well, coming to about the 2 mile, 6 furlong marker, and then went out like a light. Now, you don't get paid out the 2 mile, 6 furlong marker, do you? But the point being, I think they've learnt the horse, although bred to stay, doesn't. I think this kind of intermediate trip may really suit, and I keep banging on about the Henry de Bromhead angle.
Yeah.
Often gets his horses to peak for the spring. I thought Heartwood was the bit of the dark horse in here, and according to Henry de Bromhead, who was interviewed last week, runs.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fair chance Rachel Blackmore will be on board as well. So, eliminating horses for this race is very tricky, Dean, because we don't really know who's in or out at the moment here. But in terms of ones that have kind of booked their ticket to the gig, Heartwood, by all accounts, is a runner, and this race could cut up again to a much smaller field than it is presently.
Do you think they should extend the length of time before the race that you Enter your horse.
That's a great question.
Here we go.
That is
We're getting into it now.
Well, we'll come back in 3 hours. So
at least we've got a clue.
There's been a lot of debates with governing bodies, BHA, about extending. You've got to made your choice by a certain time. Originally it was 24 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, they have.
They have, and now it's 48 hours. But no, there are. What they call acceptor stages, where I think the next one is coming up in a week or so, where you've got your next kind of level of elimination, where if you want to stay in, you've got to keep your name in the hat. But no,
and you have to pay a fee as well.
And you have to pay a fee. So it's a very valid point though for anti-post punters when this whole we don't know who's going here, where there is a very valid point. Yeah, because it would in a way clear up things, but as you say, things can change, ground can change, lineups can change. So, as traders always say, they like to have all options open.
There you go. Great question, that, Dino. Great question. Taking my job, he is.
Considering I haven't got a clue.
Right then, even with Ed's process of elimination method, this is a difficult one. So, I'm looking forward to this, Lizzie. Who do you think is going to win this, and who's your value pick?
So, I think Protectorate's going to win it. My value pick is actually Envoy LN. He was second in this race last year behind Protectorate. He was previous winner in 2023. He won a Grade 1 earlier this season over 3 miles. And he unseated in the King George too far out to know what would have happened. But as Ed's just made the point about Hartwood, Henry de Bromhead also trains this horse, and his horses come alive at Cheltenham. And I just think
Rachel could end up riding him.
I would feel a foot like he's one of those horses that if he went and ran an absolute blinder, you'd be like, of course he has.
Yeah,
we've been
like,
done it.
How did I not see that? And he's a massive price.
Oh, I love that from you. Yeah, because punters know the name, and you came with the receipts there as well. That was very convincing. I like that. Ed, same question to you.
Yeah, I'm with the ever Henry de Bromhead runner, the younger legs, if you like, the 7-year-old Hartwood at a big price, and Jello Venetia Williams, just because in a race where it's an equine Rubik's Cube who's going to turn up, as long as those horses stay fit for a fortnight, they are going to post, and they're unexposed, they're lightly raced, and they're on the upward curve, where there are a few others in here who are getting into the veteran stage, and perhaps, their best days may be behind them. So yeah, Jello and Hartwood, tentative each way players in a tricky encounter.
Now, onto the Stayers Hurdle on Thursday. Last year's winner was the big tip on this show just last year. Are we tipping him again, Lizzie?
Tiahupu.
Yes.
Yes, he is the highest rated he's been. He's still only 8. He's last year's winner. It is a younger field this year. It's a slightly more unexposed field. We don't know quite as much about them and their potential.
Okay.
But I thought he ran a good race behind Lossiemouth. I thought I heard you say you weren't so sure. But that was over 2 mile 4, which is obviously a shorter trip than this and would very much be Lossiemouth's sort of area. And his whole season revolves around this race. Gordon Elliott knows that this is his banker for a Grade 1, and he has to make sure he gets in there spot on.
Gosh.
So the whole season revolves around it.
Goes very well fresh as well,
Yeah.
which is why he's been saved for it.
Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, every odds-on shot is going to win. But I think even when you try to be original, you just keep coming back to the fact that this horse he's not over the hill yet. Like, he's not like an old boy coming back to retain his crown. He is a young horse. He is only 8. And last year, I was like trying to pick holes in it. And I thought, oh, maybe he didn't win that well. Home by the Lee was second. He's still in this race this year, but he still won it. And I think that I would be surprised if Gordon lets this Grade 1 slip through the net.
Oh, gosh.
It's hard to disagree with what Lizzie's saying there, but just slight nervousness with me would be the ground if it really dried up. I remember interviewing Robbie Power after he rode this horse a few seasons ago on proper spring ground. Daffodils are out, the Costa del Gloucester had moved in, it was scorching. and or the Gloucester Del Sol, whichever you prefer. But yeah, and Robbie Power said never run that horse on good ground again. Just said his knee action and everything. That would be the only thing that would worry me if it didn't rain for a week and it's kind of watered, new course, good to soft. I think that brings the others much more into it. You see what I'm saying? But look, Lizzie's right. He's the best horse on all-known form. We have seen it once this season, and he got thumped by Lossiemouth in a weirdly, strangely run race over 2.5 miles on deep ground. How much you read into that, I don't quite know. As Lizzie says, it's all about one day for Teahupoo. He's going to be the Irish banker. And many people, he's the kind of the nap of the festival.
Right.
He's going to be the one you're relying on. But I won't put anyone off him. But at the same time, it's not. I probably want to see all my eggs in a basket, ducks in a row, whatever the phrase is. I'd want to see him there on softer, heavy ground at a shorter price than suddenly, it doesn't rain for a week. And I think others will come into the equation, if that's the case.
Well, you like the look of Lucky Place, though, don't you?
Well, it comes back to this young up-and-coming argument. Nikki Henderson, this horse is, if you look at ratings, he's improved with every run.
Right, okay, I see.
But he's not actually won over 3 miles yet.
No.
Which is a concern.
It is a concern, but I actually thought he looked as though he really, in the New Year's Day race over 2.5 on deep ground, he found plenty for pressure.
Right.
And when he ran in last year's the handicap hurdle over 2.5, he flew up the hill into 4th. Yes, it's right. You do not have that tick in the box, whether he will get 3 miles, but visual perspective suggests he will. And he's young and he's improving. So I think there are some younger legs in here. Again, I think Teahupoo's got a deeper race in a weird kind of way than last year.
Right.
But he is the best horse. So yeah, I'm not gonna back Teahupoo, but I totally respect him. But I think there are younger legs in here who could give him something to think about.
Yeah, do you know what? I like that because you've had there's pros to it and there's cons to it as well. So that's very interesting.
How about Langer Dan?
How long have we got? Well, yeah, it sounds like he's going to run. I mean, this horse is an enigma, isn't he, Lizzie, in the sense that, he's won the last 2 Cheltenham festivals in handicap company. Obviously, his weight shot up so much that, I don't think they can go down that route again. Dan Skelton said they will run him here. He says his training's abysmal. He says he's at home, he's absolutely useless. But for whatever reason, they put him on the track in the spring and he comes alive. Well, he's going to need to here. And he's got to also prove he can stay 3 miles. There's a lot of ifs. But
he ran very well at Grade 1 level at Aintree last year.
He did.
He was only beaten.
He comes alive in the spring and you're taking your chance he does again here. But he could easily do so. And you can't knock him as an each-way player.
Okay, well, we've hit that time of the show again, Lizzie. Who's your winner and who's the value pick?
So I've gone Teahupoo, obviously, and I am going for Lucky Place as the...
Oh, you are you?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Same line of thinking then as well.
I agree that he won like a stayer over 2.5 in the Rail Keel, which is a known trial for the Stayers Hurdle.
Okay, Ed, you're not backing Teahupoo, so who's your winner and where's the value?
Right, Lucky Place. I don't think he'll be out the 3. Another horse we haven't mentioned, trained by Gordon yet, called the Wool Park.
Okay. Is Lucky Place your value or is that your winner?
Well, I mean, it'll go as my value play.
Okay,
I really like the Wool Park here.
Okay.
And it comes back to this ground argument. He's got lots of form on a sounder surface. Look, he could still go elsewhere, to use that phrase again here. He's got the option of the per temps off top weight, but the vibes are he's going to run here. He is your old-fashioned dour stayer. You go back to when he won at Cheltenham in handicap company in October. He was off the bridle coming into the home straight. He's a little bit reminiscent in his running style of horses like an Ingles Drever or a Paisley Park, in the sense of he's going to make it look hard work, but he just keeps finding. And a lot of jockeys say, Lizzie, for 3 milers, you like those horses that kind of race a bit behind the bridle and save a bit for themselves and just keep fighting. I think he's an out-and-out, he's a heavyweight slugger, if you like. He will just stay and stay and stay. And I think he's probably the value play in here. So, yeah, I'm Lucky Place to the Wool Park versus the field each way. That's mine.
Yeah, he's another one of the younger horses. He's only 6 years of age.
Right, okay.
And you're really hoping that he's going to be the next generation. I think last year, Teahupoo was running against, the old boys, like Paisley Park, Dashel Drasher, like all the Home by the Lee, like all the same faces. That's the lovely thing about the Stayers division, is that they're all they've all kind of given everything a bit of a go. They might have tried to be champion hurdle horses. They might like 2-mile hurdlers. They might have tried to be chasers and it not taken to it. And then you end up with very good horses at Grade 1 level, obviously, that kind of don't really have a home. Yeah. And so they all become staying hurdle horses.
Big Bucks did famously.
Exactly, yeah. My stepdad trained a horse called Reb de Savola. He was he was an awful chaser. Like, he hated it and he tried to go round them rather than over them. And it's lovely. I always sort of imagine them all down at the start, like, oh, you've turned up. You're goodness, how are you? But there's more of a thing now of people targeting that section with younger horses. And this year we'll learn a lot about some of these horses.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Different dynamic for TUP this year. So, that'll be interesting. Now, just before we wrap up, I need to get everyone's nap of the festival, away from the feature races as well. Dino, we're going to start with you.
Well, once again, a little knowledge is dangerous, so I've given up looking at form and listening to experts. It's got to be a tale, a fairy tale.
I love that from you.
And this is another one. So Darren Yates and his wife decided to sell his whole string of horses.
OK.
And he kept one horse. It's the New Lion.
OK.
He's kept an interest in the horse. And it won at Newbury not so long back, cantered up. And I think I'm going to,
He won the Challow, didn't he?
Yeah, he's running in the Turner's Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham.
OK.
So that is going to be my nap of the festival.
A nap of the festival, look at that. You love a fairy tale. Lizzie, you just give a bit of side eye there. Were you bought into this fairy tale?
No, I don't believe in fairy tales. And actually, the record of Challow winners at Cheltenham is literally absolutely shocking.
Right.
I said to Harry Skelton last week, the only thing that this horse has done wrong is that he's won the Challow. And I said to myself, last year I was following the Challow form against my better judgment and ended up going wrong. And I said to myself, that is it. This is the last time. I'm never making this mistake again. The New Lion is very, very exciting for the Dan Skelton team.
OK.
Darren Yates, yes, as you said, sold quite a lot of his horses. This horse is now in the Gold Green of JP McManus. And notably is the first horse that Dan Skelton has trained for JP McManus, who is obviously like a mammoth investor in the sport. So that's feather in Dan Skelton's cap.
It's adding to the fairy tale.
I was going to say, Ed, do you believe in this fairy tale? What do you think?
I don't myself.
Oh, no, they're trotting all over your fairy tale story here, under the bus.
I just think the Challow hurdle form looks absolute rubbish.
It always is.
It is. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. New Lion, absolutely scooted clear. But a lot of horses are coming out of it, like Bill, Joyce, etc., have come out and not really performed since. But you can't deny he did it in the manner of a really good horse. Cowabunga's now on the sidelines. This is Ireland, this is Mullins versus Skelton at the top of the market. And you've got Final Demand, who absolutely smashed up the field at the DRF last time out. Huge powering horse against the sleeker, kind of sexier, the New Lion. That's a really exciting matchup. And what did Ted Walsh say? If you want fairy tales, go to Disneyland. It don't happen at the Cheltenham Festival. So
wow, there we go.
You can have a word with him.
Now that is a very cynic version, to be fair.
Really exciting horse, but not for me.
That's what Cheltenham's all about. It's all about the fairy tale. Dino,
Thanks for that.
It's made me it's made me back you even more. I really want that to happen now. Lizzie, nap of the festival.
Well, I am actually sticking with Dan Skelton. So mine is the New Lion. Is Valgrand in the county. This horse finished 4th in the Aintree bumper at the Grand National meeting last year. When I say that a bumper with a better form you will not find. Even the horse that finished completely stone last has won 2 novice hurdles this season. Valgrand went on to slightly bigger things than that particular horse. He won a Grade 2 at Cheltenham at the October meeting. He won that by 17 lengths.
Okay.
His jumping is unbelievable. That was over 2 miles. He was second to Potter's Charm, who's a really exciting horse, over 2 mile 5. And that was a good performance, given that that's not really his trip. That horse went on and won a Grade 1 after that. He's gone down £6 in 2 handicap runs since those grade races. I watched him school at Dan Skelton's last week. I have never seen anything quicker.
Wow.
They had a morning of schooling all their Cheltenham Festival horses, and if I could have sat on any of them, it would have been him. Oof. He was unbelievably clever. That was sort of what we saw when he sort of bounced onto the scene in that grade 2 at the October meeting. Like, his jumping is class. And yeah, I mean, look,
wow.
Very good at...
What are you shaking your head for, Ed?
I was going to say, what are the thoughts here?
Not for you.
Skelton, and I think you're going to have a clue where I'm going in a minute. But look,
what are your thoughts on Valgrand?
Valgrand,
big statement.
I'm absolutely... Yeah, I was going to pick Valgrand and let Lizzie have it, but no, I'm joking. But no, I think Valgrand's a massive chance off, I think, 135.
Yeah.
Would want a bit of decent ground, but, yeah. I mean, the yard have, won 3 of the last 7 county hurdles or something. It's a race they tend to target. Valgrand looks tailor-made for it, personally. So, yeah, I'm
How about the new Lion?
You're preaching to the converted.
How about the new Lion?
Go on the fairy tale. Go on.
Right, perfect time to ask you, Ed, then. Nap?
The Dan Skelton Be Aware.
Oh.
In the 2.5 miler, the Coral Cup here, I think's got an outstanding chance in this. Lightly raced sort. Only had the 6 runs. Yes, you could argue, but a little bit frustrating in finishing runner-up, but in some very good races. And stayed on up the hill over the minimum trip when last seen behind Burdett Road.
Right.
Now, Burdett Road's rated 150, there or thereabouts. They deliberately kept this horse fresh. But we ran after that at Ascot and finishing 3rd when they made a bad blunder, but has been deliberately kept fresh since the back end of last year for this. Gets to run here off 137. I would be shocked if this horse is not better than 137. The downside would be 2.5, and if the ground got quite soft, we don't quite know whether that trip really suits yet. But every bit of evidence we've seen over the minimum trip, especially the way he powered up the hill in the Greatwood, suggests this will suit. The yard have won the last 2 renewals of this race.
Right.
I just think he looks potentially very well handicapped. He's got some decent form at Cheltenham, in and amongst graded horses. The yard know what they're doing with this. Yeah, I can't boot him out of the frame. I'd be very disappointed as an each-way player. He's not in the shake-up here, definitely.
Yeah, he's a really exciting horse, and I think what's really good about the Cheltenham Festival that they had last season, where they had 4 winners, they had 2 obviously at top level, but 2 also at handicap level, is you can really get behind them with some proper force, because they are completely able to compete. I think a lot of the time when you are talking about British trained horses, you're kind of doing it with like a little bit of a hope and a prayer. We've got nice horses over here, but we struggle, especially at graded level,
right,
to take on the Irish. But I mean, it was very funny when they did that schooling morning, because honestly, they walked off the schooling field and you'd have thought they were going to have 50 winners at Cheltenham. Yeah. Like, they were so bullish. It was great. It was so much fun.
They're all winners at this stage, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're all winners at this stage, but 2 guys with more ambition you will not meet than Dan and Harry Skelton. They are unbelievable.
I love that. Dino, thoughts on Ed Snap of the festival?
Terrible.
You know what happens here, don't you? The new Lion wins.
And
Be Aware drops out.
Lizzie's having a bad run as well on talkSPORT. So I'm not.
It's always a bad run.
He's got his kidney shots in now, Dino. I love that. Right, Dino, Lizzie, Ed, thank you all so much for being with us today. Right, that's everything you need to know and more going into this year's festival. Thanks again to Dean, Lizzie and Ed. And thanks to you guys for watching the Cheltenham preview with talkSPORT and talkSPORT Bet. To find all the panel selections for Cheltenham, as well as boosts and offers for the festival, head to talkSPORT Bet. Bye for now.